Hello and welcome to Pock and Rob. It's been a while since I did one of these tracks in my years, and you've clicked on the video, you know it's going to be on Paul McCartney. And specifically, it's the tracks from the 1970s. I recently reacquired this book, and it reveals that there are something like 167 individually numbered tracks that were released by Paul in the 1970s. Not all of them are his. There might be a cover or there might be a Denny song, but that's the scope that I'm working with. I couldn't help myself. He is my favourite artist, and so I've got a top 50. Before I dive into it, I'd remind you to subscribe, like, and hit the bell. So let's go with number 50 from Red Rose Speedway, One More Kiss. A beautifully, delightfully slight little song on a mediocre album that it's supposed to be about his daughter and that whole kind of just give me one more kiss before you go. It's really sweet. Number 49 from Wings' final album, Back to the Egg, it's Arrow Through Me. Released as a single in the US, not in the UK. Number 48 from London Town, Cafe on the Left Bank. A great rocker, that is the second track on side one of the record. And number 47 from McCartney, it's Ooh You. I just really enjoy the guitar part on this. And it's gained probably a little bit more interest in it because I had a complete Beatles music book when I was self-teaching myself the piano. And for some reason, Ooh You was in it. Ooh You at number 47. At number 46, from Venus and Mars, although I must admit I would always take the Wings over America version, Call Me Back Again. One of those songs that is potentially thought to be about John. Number 45, from London Town, the really gorgeous acoustic track that was apparently George Harrison's favourite from the record, I'm Carrying. George didn't hand out the praise to Paul that often after what happened, but for I'm Carrying to kind of make it in, that's my number 45. Number 44, from Red Rose Speedway and a cast-off from Ram, it's Get On The Right Thing. And this book was part of the reason why I wasn't very fond of that track for years, and it's because it was revealed to be part of Ram. It felt like it didn't fit. I've got a weird brain, let's be honest. At number 43, first track that I've picked from Band on the Run, Mamounia. The only track from Band on the Run that he's never played live. Mamounia at 43. At 42, from McCartney, probably my favourite McCartney instrumental, it's Hot as Sun. Interestingly, in this book, they separate it as Hot as Sun and Glasses, but they are not separated on the record. Hot as Sun, number 42. 41, my first entry on this list from Ram, Backseat of My Car. Now, I've given that a bit of stick in some of my reviews, but that's only because there's so many more tracks on Ram I like more than the Backseat of My Car. That said, it's still in my top 50 70s McCartney tracks. Number 40, from Venus and Mars, but I will take the Wings of America version again, Magneto Entertainment Man. The song that he wrote about characters from Marvel Comics. At number 39, from Ram, Eat at Home. A song that could possibly be about the marital pleasures of... Well, let's move on. Eat at Home at number 39. And number 38 is the first track that I have not yet discussed on a Ranking the Tracks video. It's Sally G, the B-side to Junior's Farm. And for me, Junior's Farm's not in this list. It's a good song. It was in the 50s. But Sally G, I think, was the better song. Not the better single. Please don't get me wrong, but I enjoy Country Paul. Sally G at 38. At 37, another B-side. This time to Another Day, it's Oh Woman, Oh Why. I have talked about this on a previous video because I think Oh Woman, Oh Why would have been a suitable track for the Black Album. Go and watch my video about the Beatles' Black Album to see where I put Oh Woman, Oh Why. At number 36, first track on here from Wings at the Speed of Sound. And Paul doesn't sing this. Joe English does. It's Must Do Something About It. I have heard the demo with Paul singing, and I know it's a guide vocal. It's not one of Paul's better vocals. Would he have smashed it? Absolutely. But I also really like Joe English's vocals on this song, and it suits him. Must do something about it at 36. At 35, Uncle Albert Admiral Halsey from Ram. I kind of starting to understand why this was a number one single in the US. It's because it sounded like the Beatles when the world really wanted a Beatles song. This was a US number one single. It wasn't even released in the UK. Uncle Albert Admiral Halsey at 35. At 34, a track that was a hangover from the Rishikesh visits the Beatles did in 68. It's Junk. It's really beautiful. At number 33, the first pick from Wildlife. Now, for those of you who've watched my Ranking the Tracks video may think that there should be no picks from Wildlife based on what I said. But I've been listening to it a fair bit recently, thanks to the Half Speed Master. And whilst it is never going to fly up my album rankings, Side 2's got some real merit. And some people never know that open Side 2. It's really pretty. It's really rather lovely. It could have done with editing, but it's... Some people never know. It's a lovely tune. And sticking with Wildlife for the next pick for the best track on Wildlife, and therefore the last on this list for Tomorrow. It's the highlight of Wildlife, and it's a solid song. And Paul was going to revisit that in 1975, and I think they did do another version of it, but it would never got any further. Tomorrow at 32. At 31, the next pick from Band on the Run, Bluebird. It's taken me years to really love Bluebird, but it is a gorgeous track, and that saxophone solo on it is just splendid. Bluebird at 31. Number 30, we're back with Ram for Too Many People, Paul's diss track for John and Yoko. You took your lucky break and broke it in two. At number 29, another B-side. And this time it's the B-side to Helen Wheels. Now, again, I think it's better than its A-side, but it wouldn't have been a suitable A-side. Country Dreamer. Got one of those octave jumps that he was doing at the time. And number 28, Band on the Run's Picasso's Last Words. Gets a lot of stick, well known as being the song that he almost wrote to order by Dustin Hoffman. But I think it really... It paints a fantastic picture, and it goes into places that are new and different, calls back on Jet. Picasso's Last Words at 28. At 27, London Towns, Don't Let It Bring You Down. One of the unquestionable highlights of the muddled London Town record. And for me, it's almost the apex of the classic Wings harmonies of Paul, Denny and Linda. As they hit that high note of Up and Down the Carousel. It's a gorgeous little track which Denny co-wrote. Number 26, From Venus and Mars, but again, I much prefer Wings Over America's version of this one. It's Listen to What the Man Said. US number 1, it's single, number 5 in the UK. And it's just a great slice of effortless pop. At number 25, I have placed the UK's biggest selling non-charity single, which is Mull of Kintyre. I really still like Mull of Kintyre, although I have overheard it over the years, as has virtually everybody. But it's such a great, simply brilliantly written song. Number 24, from Wings at the Speed of Sound, Beware My Love. This is kind of like, for me, feels like the heart of the record. This is what the record was built around. But it's a fragmented record. There's lots of good stuff, but it's so less than some of its parts. And the next track is also from Speed of Sound. It's She's My Baby. It's simple or slight to the point of ridiculous, but it's just... I really enjoy the tune of She's My Baby. I mean, it's daft lyrics, like gravy, mopping it up until the last drop. And it actually segues into Beware My Love. The two tracks together are a great 1-2. At number 22, from Ram, Heart of the Country. It's just a great song about bucolic country living. Number 21, The first song that Denny and Paul wrote together for Wings from Band on the Run, No Words for My Love. Often cited as people's least favourite from Band on the Run, but I respectfully disagree because I think No Words, it's the first... I described this as being the first track on a McCartney record since The Lovely Linda that I wanted more of. I didn't want No Words, and I don't want No Words to end when I listen to it. I want that bit at the end that doesn't feel like it's quite there. But I love it. No Words at number 21. At number 20, from Ram, the song I used to detest and lift the needle off after Admiral Halsey, Smile Away. It's proper rocker Paul, and I've grown to absolutely adore Smile Away. It bit of punch in that track. And number 19, it's a single. It was Paul's first single. It's Another Day. Again, there was times when it was on All the Best that I thought Another Day was one of the weaker tracks on the compilation. Time has been kind to it for me. And listening to it with the ears of someone who plays bass a lot more, my word, that bass is nuts on Another Day. And mixed really quite high and enhances the song. Another Day, shame we didn't get to number 1, but it's my number 19. Number 18, the double A side of the UK's biggest selling non-charity single, Girls' School. What a banging track. More of Girls' School type stuff on London Town would have definitely improved it. And number 17, from Band on the Run, Jet. I've known Jet for well over 35 years, and I've loved it. It's Jet, for heaven's sake. It's just nutso lyrics that don't make any sense, but it's a great rocking song. And number 16, from Venus and Mars, and possibly the only track that I prefer the studio version to the live version, it's You Gave Me the Answer. Number 15, from London Town, With a Little Luck. Used to suffer from the same problem that I'd say about Another Day, but its understated brilliance has caused it to become a clear classic off the record. At number 14, from McCartney, it's his ode to dealing with depression every night. At number 13, from Ram, the barking Monkberry Moon Delight. Seems to be about tomatoes, despite the fact that you're sat in an attic with a piano up your nose. What a barking track. And number 12, from Back to the Egg. We're kind of back with Paul's granny music again for Baby's Request. It's a great 20s style tune. At number 11, from Red Rose Speedway, we're back into the territory of tracks that I used to dislike and now absolutely adore. Little Lamb Dragonfly. Cast off from Ram, it's the best thing on Red Rose Speedway. Please note, however, not the best thing recorded for Red Rose Speedway, but you'll have to watch a future video to see some of the tracks that I think were better. So into my top 10. At number 10, from London Town. My favourite track of London Town is I've Had Enough. A proper Paul rocker. That angry Paul. I'm always quite happy with a bit of angry Paul, and I think this was written about some of the stuff that they were dealing with in the press about particularly Linda's playing in Wings and how and all of that stuff. Number 9 is a B-side and often cited as one of the great lost tracks from Back to the Egg. It's Daytime, Nighttime Suffering. So this was the B-side to Goodnight Tonight, a perfectly fine disco tune. But the B-side, this could have been the single, and perhaps should have been. Daytime, Nighttime Suffering is a terrific song. At the very least, burying it away on a B-side was a mistake because this could and should be on Back to the Egg. And number 8, I think this is Wings' biggest selling single in the US. Silly Love Songs from the Speed of Sound. It's got that bass line. And that bass line alone is evidence of genius. But it's not my favourite track from Wings at the Speed of Sound, because number 7 is my favourite track from Wings at the Speed of Sound, and if you watch the video, you'll know it's Warm and Beautiful. absolutely fantastically beautiful ballad that he had revisited in a chamber orchestra style for the memorial for Linda. It's a Linda song. And Warm and Beautiful, that closes the record, is just lovely. Number 6, from Back to the Egg, Getting Closer. My favourite McCartney penned track from Back to the Egg, because as you know, if you've watched the video, I really like Again and Again and Again by Denny. But I'm keeping this to Paul stuff, and Getting Closer, it just drives along. If anybody from MPL ever watches this, for heaven's sake, give us the archives of London Town and Back to the Egg. We've been waiting now for 4 years since Flaming Pie. We're getting one hand clapping, which, fair enough, but what we really want are those archives. And don't just stop there. Give us Press to Play and Off the Ground. If you have to stop at Flaming Pie, fine. But we want those archives. Your fans really want them. But anyway, moving on. Number 5, a single recorded during the Red Rose Speedway sessions, but was never even intended to be part of it because it is Live and Let Die. One of the few Paul McCartney solo tracks that has been taken back into the upper echelons of the chart by another act. And of course, that's Guns N' Roses' version. Live and Let Die is such a strong song. And number 5. Number 4, from Band on the Run. It is Band on the Run. The multi-song suite that, as we know, he does throughout his career. But for Band on the Run, it made a cracking opening track and cracking single, which used number 3 in the UK and number 1 in the US. And it's Band on the Run, for heaven's sake. At number 3, my favourite track from Ram, Dear Boy. The harmonies on this are just superlative, of him and Linda. It's such a short song, but it's such a brilliantly written song, and it's about Linda's ex-husband who didn't understand quite what a gem he'd got in Linda. Number 2, my favourite track from Band on the Run, and it is 1985. Yes, I get a little bit of Band on the Run at the end, which I personally really enjoy. It circularises the record. But the rest of the track, it's tense, it's building, it's just, what a way to end the record, 1985. And number 1, from his solo debut, McCartney, Maybe I'm Amazed. What's to say about Maybe I'm Amazed except for the fact that it's the song he wants to be remembered for, other than the Beatle work, of course. Maybe I'm Amazed, coulda, shoulda, would have been a single, but it would have been competing with Let It Be. I do think that despite the vitriol that Paul was getting for the breaking up of the Beatles, I still think Maybe I'm Amazed would have been a number 1 smash. What could have been? So that is my Tracks in My Years top 50 of Paul McCartney from the 1970s only. You will notice that there are 1970s tracks that are missing that I really, really like. I am going to be putting those in with the decade that they were actually released. Before I go, I'll just remind you to subscribe, like, and hit the bell. But until next time, thanks for watching.